Funny thing about prayers, people whisper them into the dark, never realizing sometimes the answer isn't light, it's a person. They beg for help, for change, for a sign, and heaven sends you. Not wrapped in gold, not glowing, not perfect. Just you with your flaws, your scars, your messy story. You walk into their life, and suddenly everything starts shifting, not because you're divine, but because you're different. You carry something they don't understand. A strength built from pain, a calm built from chaos. They prayed for peace, and heaven sent them someone who's been through war. You are the answer to someone's unanswered prayer. Most people don't realize that. They think miracles fall from the sky, glowing and soft, with harps playing in the background. But that's not how heaven works. Sometimes the miracle is flesh and bone. Sometimes it's walking, breathing, and doesn't even know what it carries. You've been through things that broke you, but maybe that breaking shaped you into exactly what someone else needs. Your pain became wisdom, your scars became maps, your silence became strength. Somewhere, someone cried out for help, and the universe whispered your name in response. You didn't even know you were being prepared. Every disappointment, every loss, every sleepless night. It wasn't random. It was training. You thought you were being punished, but you were being built. You were made to walk through darkness, so that when someone else finds themselves there, you can guide them out. You've been where they are. You know how the air feels when hope starts to leave the room. That's why you understand pain the way you do. Because you're meant to recognize it in others. You're not just surviving your story. You're carrying someone else's rescue inside it. People often pray for strength, not realizing that strength doesn't fall from the sky. It walks into their life in the form of someone who's already fought their battles. Someone who's learned how to keep breathing when everything hurt. Someone who doesn't talk about miracles because they are one. That's you. You don't look like the answer they expected, but that's what makes it powerful. Heaven doesn't send perfection. It sends proof that survival is possible. Maybe that's why your presence unsettles some people. Because they can sense something in you. Not pride, not arrogance, but depth. A kind of knowing that can't be faked. It's not about what you say. It's about what you've endured. You've seen too much to pretend. You've felt too much to be fooled. People can't always describe it, but they feel it when you enter a room. The quiet confidence of someone who's been through fire and came out breathing. You remind them that pain has purpose, and that makes you dangerous to everything hopeless. Sometimes you'll meet people whose prayers match your story without them ever telling you. You'll feel drawn to them, as if something invisible connects you. That's heaven's design. You'll say something casual, and it'll hit them like lightning. You'll show up at the right time, say the right thing, do the smallest act, and it'll change their whole day, maybe even their whole life. You won't realize it, but heaven will. Because it's not coincidence, it's calling. You're not wandering. You're being sent. And maybe you've been wondering why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why your path seemed harder than others. It's because you're not meant for easy roads. You're meant to understand things most people never face. You're meant to be real in a world full of pretense. You had to lose to learn compassion. You had to break to learn how to heal. That's how heaven crafts its messengers, through chaos. You don't earn it. You become it. But being someone's answered prayer doesn't always feel like a blessing. Sometimes it's lonely. Because while others see light, you remember the darkness that made it. You remember what it cost to become this strong. And maybe that's why you feel misunderstood. Because people see your strength, but not the story behind it. They call you calm, not realizing it's not calmness, it's acceptance. They call you wise, not realizing it's not wisdom, it's survival. You've become something sacred, not because you're perfect, but because you kept going when it didn't make sense to. You carry light in your eyes that only those still searching can see. You walk differently, not because you're above anyone, but because you know what it's like to be below and rise anyway. And somewhere out there, someone is praying for exactly that. Someone who understands without judging, who listens without fixing, who sees without pretending. And when you cross paths, you'll recognize it instantly. It won't be about words. It'll be a silent knowing that heaven just answered someone's prayer through you. That's the mystery of it all. You think you're just living, just surviving, but you're actually fulfilling something bigger. You're proof that pain can be repurposed, that heartbreak can be holy, that struggle can create servants of light. You've been refined not for applause, but for purpose. You were made to be seen by those who asked heaven for hope, and heaven said, "Here they are." Because sometimes the miracle isn't what arrives, it's their who. Heaven sends strength wrapped in struggle. Nobody wants to hear that. Everyone prays for strength, for courage, for power. But they don't realize what they're asking for. Strength doesn't come from comfort. It's born in chaos. You don't find it in the easy moments. You find it when everything inside you screams to quit and you keep moving anyway. The cruel part is that heaven never announces it's teaching you strength. It just breaks you, bends you, and watches if you'll rise. You think you're being punished, but really, you're being prepared. You think life's unfair, but it's sharpening you in silence. There's something brutal about growth. It doesn't feel like growth when you're in it. It feels like loss. It feels like isolation. It feels like being stripped of everything you thought you needed. People leave. Doors close, plans fall apart, and you start to wonder if heaven forgot you. But it didn't. It's just that strength isn't built by adding things. It's built by losing them. When there's nothing left to hold on to, that's when you discover what's really inside you. That's when strength shows up, quiet, raw, uninvited, but real. You don't wake up strong. You survive enough nights that you stop fearing the dark. You learn to move differently. You start trusting the pain. even when you don't understand it. Because every heartbreak, every failure, every betrayal, it's all molding you into someone unbreakable. The people who laugh the loudest, the ones who carry calm in their chaos, they're not lucky. They're forged. They've been through storms you couldn't stand in. That's why they're unshaken when the wind blows now. They've seen worse. They've lost more. They've lived through what others only imagine. Strength is rarely loud. It's not about showing off muscles or winning arguments. It's silent, steady, patient. It's the way you keep showing up even when you're tired. It's how you still choose kindness when bitterness would be easier. It's how you walk away instead of exploding. It's how you still believe, even when everything inside you tells you not to. That's what heaven was building when you thought life was falling apart. A kind of strength that doesn't need validation, doesn't need applause. You see, heaven doesn't give strength as a gift. It disguises it as struggle. It hides lessons inside loss. It wraps miracles in misery. Because if it handed you strength easily, you'd never value it. You'd never understand its weight. You'd never learn empathy, patience, or faith. Real strength isn't just about endurance. It's about understanding. It's what allows you to look at someone else's pain and say, I know. Not out of pity, but out of experience. It's what makes you dangerous to despair, because you've already danced with it and didn't die. When you look back, you'll notice something. The moments that nearly broke you are the ones that built you most. You'll remember crying yourself to sleep, thinking it was over, and now you'll realize that was the night your spirit learned how to fight. You'll remember the rejection that destroyed your confidence and see how it redirected you toward purpose. You'll remember how you begged for escape, not realizing you were being equipped. The struggle didn't stop you, it shaped you. It gave you endurance disguised as pain. Most people fear struggle because they think it means something's wrong. But sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the presence of struggle is proof that heaven still sees potential in you. It's saying, you're not done yet. It's sending resistance to reveal resilience. You can't find out how strong you are until something tests it. That's why heaven allows the pressure to force the power out of you. Diamonds aren't made in comfort. They're made under pressure. And when the storm finally passes, you don't come out the same. You come out quieter, sharper, wiser. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop explaining your worth. You stop panicking over what's gone, because you understand that if it left, it wasn't meant to stay. That's strength. The kind no one sees, but everyone feels. The kind that doesn't brag, it just exists. It's written in the way you walk, in the way you look at life now. People sense it. They can tell you've been through fire and didn't burn. You become living proof that struggle isn't failure. It's refinement. You realize that heaven never abandoned you. It was preparing you. Every tear, every loss, every lonely night was sculpting something sacred inside you. You don't need to understand it while it's happening. You just need to survive it. Because one day, someone will look at you and see the strength they prayed for. They'll call it grace, luck, power. But you'll know better. You'll know it was struggle all along, dressed as salvation. Divine timing often looks like human interruption. You think everything's lining up. Your plans feel perfect, your path feels clear. And then suddenly, something shifts. The job falls through. The relationship ends, the opportunity disappears, and you're left standing there asking why. It feels unfair. It feels personal. It feels like life is mocking your effort. You look at the chaos and call it bad timing, but heaven calls it correction. What you see as a delay might actually be a redirection. What you think is rejection might be protection. You wanted what was next, but heaven wanted what was right. It's strange how divine timing never consults your schedule. It doesn't care about your plans, your deadlines, or your comfort zone. It moves when it wants to, how it wants to. Sometimes it crashes in like a storm. Other times it sneaks in like a whisper. You don't always recognize it, because it rarely feels divine in the moment. It feels inconvenient. It feels like loss. It feels like being pulled backward when all you wanted was to move forward. But the truth is, you're not being pulled back. You're being positioned. The pause isn't punishment, it's precision. You see, there are doors you would have walked through too early if heaven hadn't stopped you. People you would have trusted too easily if the truth hadn't been revealed. Opportunities you would have chased that weren't built to hold you. Sometimes, heaven doesn't give you what you want because it knows what you can't see. What's on the other side of that? Yes, you call it delay, but it's protection from disaster. You call it loss, but it's clearing the path for something greater. Divine timing never denies, it rearranges. It's hard to accept that when you're in the middle of waiting, because waiting feels like wasting. You see others moving ahead, living the life you thought you'd have by now. And you start to question everything. Your worth, your choices, your faith. You start to wonder if you missed your moment. But you didn't. You're just not supposed to rush a masterpiece. You're being shaped in the silence, molded in the waiting. Because the timing isn't just about the event. It's about who you become before it happens. If you get the blessing too early, you won't know how to carry it. Divine timing works in layers you'll never fully understand until you look back. Every no led you to a better, wise. Every closed door rerouted you to the right one. Every detour taught you patience, resilience, and faith. You start realizing that interruptions weren't obstacles. They were alignments. They pushed you away from what would have drained you and toward what was designed for you. It's just that when heaven intervenes, it rarely feels gentle. It feels like chaos, but chaos is just creation wearing a disguise. The hardest part about divine timing is surrendering control. Humans crave predictability, structure, certainty. You want to plan the outcome, schedule the blessing, time the miracle. But that's not how heaven works. Heaven doesn't operate by your comfort. It operates by your calling. It'll delay what's good to deliver what's meant. It'll strip away everything false to leave you with what's real, and it won't apologize for it. You'll kick, scream, cry, and then one day you'll see why it had to happen that way. It's always funny looking back. The very things you cursed, the moments you thought broke you, they were the same ones that built you. You realize that if you had gotten what you wanted when you wanted it, it would have destroyed you. You weren't ready. You didn't have the discipline, the clarity, the strength yet. The wait wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You were being refined so that when the moment came, you could sustain it. Because heaven doesn't hand out blessings to the unready. It delivers them to the prepared. You begin to understand that interruptions aren't interruptions at all. They're divine timing showing up unannounced. They're the universe rearranging things while you panic, trying to make sense of the mess. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "Maybe this is for me." You stop forcing what's fading and start trusting what's unfolding. You stop fighting the flow and start moving with it, even when you can't see where it's going. Because deep down, you know, heaven doesn't make mistakes, only moves. One day, everything clicks. The closed doors make sense. The waiting feels worth it. The detours reveal their purpose. You see how everything that felt like loss was actually alignment. You see how every delay saved you from disaster. You see how every unanswered prayer was heaven saying, "Not yet, not there, not them." And it hits you. Divine timing was never late. It was waiting for you to be ready. It's interesting how truth has a way of surfacing when it's time. Not when you demand it, not when you beg for it, not even when you think you're ready for it. It comes crawling out when heaven decides you've earned the right to see what's been hidden in plain sight. You think you know people. You think you understand intentions. But the truth is, you only see what people allow you to. You fall for their smiles, their stories, their carefully rehearsed performances, and you believe them. Until heaven flips the script. Suddenly, the mask slips. The light shines a little too bright, and the lies start to melt away like cheap paint in the rain. There's a strange kind of silence right before the truth reveals itself. It's almost peaceful, like the calm before an explosion. You sense something's off, but you can't quite name it. You start noticing things. The tone of someone's voice, the inconsistency in their stories, the way their eyes avoid yours when you ask too much. It's subtle, but your spirit knows before your mind does. It whispers, something isn't right, and you ignore it because truth is uncomfortable. It threatens the image you've built, the comfort you've clung to, the illusion you've chosen to live in. But heaven doesn't deal in illusions. It deals in exposure. When the exposure comes, it doesn't knock politely. It barges in like a storm and destroys whatever was built on lies. You stand there, watching everything crumble, realizing how blind you were. You replay conversations, moments, and gestures, seeing them all differently now. What once looked like care now feels like control. What sounded like loyalty now echoes with manipulation. And yet, there's something strangely liberating about it. Painful, yes, but freeing. Because once the truth shows up, it doesn't leave room for deception anymore. It clears the air, whether you're ready or not. You see, heaven doesn't expose to embarrass you. It exposes to free you. To break the hold of deceit that's been quietly draining you. You thought that person's presence was a blessing, but heaven saw the poison behind the smile. You thought you needed them, but heaven knew they were only using you. So it orchestrated a moment, a conversation, a mistake, a revelation, and suddenly everything made sense. You see the truth, and you can't unsee it. The illusion shatters, and though it hurts, you finally breathe real air again. What's fascinating is how the same people who lied about you start to get caught up in their own web. You don't have to expose them. You don't have to fight for the truth. You just have to stand still long enough for heaven to do what it does best. Reveal. The same mouths that spoke against you start tripping over their own stories. The same hands that pointed at you start scrambling to defend themselves. It's poetic, really. The truth doesn't need your defense. It has a way of writing its own confession. And then comes the irony. Those who once questioned your character suddenly see what you were trying to hide from yourself. They see the mask fall off the one who deceived you. They see the game that was played behind your back. And they start to understand that you weren't paranoid. You were perceptive. You weren't bitter. You were betrayed. They start whispering about the one who lied. And this time, heaven makes sure everyone hears. But here's the twist. The exposure isn't just about them. It's about you too. Because deception doesn't just hurt, it teaches. It strips you of naivete, forces you to see beyond the surface, and pushes you closer to discernment. You start trusting less in people and more in energy, less in words and more in consistency. You start recognizing patterns before they repeat. And most importantly, you stop depending on validation from those who live behind masks. You start understanding that truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply reveals. The person who lied on you thought their story would become your identity. They thought if they said it enough times, people would believe it. But heaven doesn't work that way. Lies have expiration dates. They may spread fast, but truth ages well. It doesn't rush, it waits for its moment. And when that moment comes, it burns through every lie like sunlight through fog. You don't have to fight for vindication. You just have to stay quiet long enough for the light to do its job. What they didn't realize was that lying on you was the beginning of their own downfall. They thought they were burying your name, but they were actually planting your reputation. The same people who laughed behind your back will now watch heaven elevate you in front of them. Not out of revenge, but revelation. Because heaven's justice doesn't humiliate, it educates. It shows the world who was real, who was fake, and who was chosen all along. And when it happens, you won't even feel the need to say, "I told you so." You'll just smile quietly, because you'll understand now. Truth doesn't need applause. It just needs time. It's strange how heaven works in silence. You expect thunder, lightning, loud announcements, something dramatic, something obvious. But instead, it moves quietly. It whispers through moments, nudges through coincidences, rearranges things without warning. You think nothing's happening, but in reality, everything's shifting behind the scenes. Someone's name is being mentioned in a room you've never been in. Someone's decision is aligning with your destiny. Someone's prayer, not yours, theirs, just included you. And that's when heaven begins its work. You see, heaven doesn't forget its favorites. It might test them, stretch them, silence them for a while, but it never abandons them. When it says your name, things move. Doors open that no man can shut. Conversations change direction. People start feeling a strange pull toward you, not knowing why. That's divine interference, the kind that makes people think it's coincidence when it's really orchestration. Heaven doesn't need your permission to bless you. It just needs the right moment to reveal what's already written. And right now, someone's prayer is echoing your name. Someone is speaking on your behalf without even realizing the power of their words. You think you've been forgotten because it's been quiet, but quiet doesn't mean empty. Quiet means loading. It means heaven is aligning, adjusting, preparing. It means the right hearts are being softened. The right hands are being positioned. The right minds are being awakened. The answer is in motion, even if you can't see it yet. You ever notice how sometimes the people you least expect become the ones heaven uses to lift you? Not the ones you invested in, not the ones you helped, not the ones who promised to stay, but strangers, unexpected allies, divine replacements. That's how heaven works. It takes the most unlikely pieces and fits them perfectly into the puzzle. It uses people you'd never think of to deliver blessings you never saw coming. Because heaven's plan isn't based on your logic. It's built on divine irony. You spent so long wondering why certain people left, why doors closed, why opportunities dried up. You thought it was punishment, when in fact it was clearance. Heaven was making room. You couldn't step into what's next, still holding on to what was meant to stay behind. And now, with the space cleared, something new is arriving. Someone who's been praying for something different. Peace, clarity, purpose is about to cross paths with you. And when they do, they'll realize you were the answer they didn't know they were asking for. That's the beauty of divine connection. It doesn't need planning. It just needs timing. When heaven says it's time, nothing can stop the collision. You'll find yourself in the right place, at the right moment, saying the right words without even trying. It'll feel natural, but it won't be. It'll be orchestrated. You'll look back later and realize every delay, every heartbreak, every moment of isolation was just preparation for that one divine intersection. And suddenly, it all makes sense. The ones who lied on you, doubted you, walked away. They'll watch as heaven reverses the narrative. Because heaven doesn't just restore, it rewrites. It doesn't just vindicate, it elevates. When heaven moves, it doesn't whisper your story, it broadcasts it, not for your ego, but for proof. Proof that no lie can outlive truth, no betrayal can outlast destiny, and no darkness can hide what heaven decides to reveal. You'll know heaven's moving when things start feeling strangely aligned. When resistance fades. When people who once ignored you suddenly remember your name. When opportunities you didn't chase start chasing you. That's the quiet chaos of divine orchestration. It feels accidental, but it's intentional. It looks random, but it's rehearsed. You think you stumbled into it, but heaven placed you right there. Someone out there is right now preparing something that carries your name. A recommendation, a contract, an introduction, a chance. It's already being shaped. You're not waiting for it. It's waiting for you to step into the right position. Heaven doesn't deliver blessings to chaos. It delivers them to alignment. That's why you had to go through loss, confusion, isolation, not because you were forgotten, but because you were being fine, tuned to receive what's next. It's easy to think nothing's changing when all you see is silence. But silence isn't absence, it's construction. Heaven doesn't build in noise, it builds in stillness. And when it's ready, when everything is aligned, when the timing matches the preparation, it opens the curtain without warning. Suddenly, you're standing in a moment that feels too perfect to be coincidence. That's heaven's signature, perfection disguised as timing. And when that moment arrives, it won't feel forced. It'll feel like recognition, like something that was meant to happen all along. Because heaven doesn't rush, it waits. It waits for the exact second when everything lines up. Your growth, their readiness, the world's need for what you carry. And then it whispers, now.